One does not simply walk into Mordor. Fine, nobody said anything about walking, because there were giant eagles the whole time. They turn up at the end, pluck Frodo off the lava, and fly him home like it was nothing. So everybody who has ever watched this has had the same thought at some point. Why not just fly? And yes, this question gets asked roughly 9,000 times a day on the internet. The honest first answer is that if they had flown, there is no trilogy, and we would all have been home in 20 minutes. But that is the writer's answer. It is not the story's answer. So let's do the story's answer properly. Let's book the flight, Rivendell to Mount Doom, and see who says no first. Spoiler: we do not get out of Rivendell. Here is the bit nobody argues about, because everyone sprints straight to the good part where the Nazgûl turn up. Before you can ask whether an eagle survives Mordor, you have to get an eagle to Rivendell. You can't. They don't live anywhere near it. They are not in Eriador at all. They nest on the far side of the Misty Mountains over towards the Vales of Anduin, which is the wrong side of the exact mountain range the Fellowship is about to nearly die crossing. So how do you contact them? In the film, Gandalf lets a moth go from the top of Orthanc, has a quiet word with it, and an eagle arrives. Beautiful shot. Completely invented. There is no moth in the book. The wizard with a way with birds is Radagast. Gandalf had asked him to send the birds out looking for news, and that is the only reason Gwaihir ever turns up over Isengard. The eagles were already out there watching things, and they sent a messenger. And here is the detail that turns this from a debate into a comedy. After the Council of Elrond, scouts ride out in every direction. Some of them are to the Vales of Anduin. Some go looking for Radagast, which is exactly what you would do if you wanted a message sent to the eagles. He isn't home. Nobody is in. An empty house in the woods. No answer at the door. And the plan is dead before Sauron is even relevant. Now, there is a theory about this that does the rounds every couple of years, and I love it, so let's deal with it properly. Gandalf falls in Moria. His last words are, "Fly, you fools, fly." The theory says he meant it literally, that the real plan was always to lead the Fellowship over the mountains to the eagles, that Moria was a detour, and that his dying breath was one last attempt to say, "Take the birds." Great theory. Asike, total nonsense. Gandalf never told a living soul about this plan, so a cryptic three-word instruction shouted while falling into a chasm would have meant absolutely nothing to 8 people standing on a bridge, in a cave underground, where the birds famously are. Also, fly just means flee. Tolkien uses it that way constantly. Run for your lives. And half the internet remembers the line as "Run, you fools," which is one of the great Mandela effects of our time. Go and have that argument in the comments. I'll wait. Fine. Say we find Radagast. Say the message goes out. An eagle actually lands at Rivendell. Now you have to ask. And this is where the plan stops being logistics and starts being diplomacy, because the eagles are nobody's transport. They serve Manwë, one of the powers that made the world. They speak, they decide, and they already have a war of their own, watching the enemy, and breaking up goblins and wargs in the north. Watch how carefully Gandalf handles them. Right at the end, Sauron has fallen, 2 hobbits are dying on a mountainside, and Gandalf needs to get there now. He asks Gwaihir to carry him, and he adds 3 words: "If you are willing." That is the most powerful wizard in Middle-earth asking a favor politely in the most urgent moment of his life. So no, you do not take the eagles the way you take a horse. But let's be generous. The eagle says yes. How far can it actually carry him? Gandalf asked that exact question once, and we know the answer, because he tells the council about it. He asks Gwaihir how far he can bear him. Gwaihir says many leagues, but not to the ends of the earth. I was sent to bear tidings, not burdens. Then he puts him down near Edoras, because it is close. That is the service area. The Tower of Orthanc to the grasslands of Rohan. One wizard, short notice, and only because there is a war on, not across a continent, and definitely not into a volcano. Tolkien thought the whole idea of eagles as public transport was ridiculous, by the way, and said so when a film script tried it. He called them a dangerous machine and said he used them sparingly. He also objected to a version where a great eagle lands in the Shire, which he flatly called absurd. So the flight we have booked is already outside the range, for a passenger they have never met, on a route no eagle would take. Let's fly it anyway, because here is where the plan stops being impractical and turns suicidal. Frodo gets airborne, and instantly the one thing keeping this entire quest alive is gone. Sauron is not frightened of losing the ring. He is frightened of someone using it. He knows his enemies have it, and he is watching for the moment a crowned figure rides out of the west, with the ring on his hand, banners up, coming for the Black Tower. He watches Aragorn. He watches Gandalf. There is an eye on every army in the west. The one thing that never occurs to him is that they might destroy it. Gandalf says it outright. That we should try to destroy the ring itself has not yet entered into his darkest dream. That blind spot is the whole quest. 2 hobbits walked into Mordor through a gap in Sauron's imagination. Now put one of them on an eagle. Saruman has birds working for him. Sauron has orcs all through the mountains and a seeing stone. And a giant eagle flying hard and straight for Mordor is not a puzzle anybody has to solve. You don't need to know what is on board. You just need to wonder why a bird that size is in a hurry to reach a volcano. The walk was slow, miserable, and invisible. The flight gets noticed on day 1. And this is where somebody always says, fine, fly at night, fly high, come in round the back. Fly low and every watchtower and orc camp on the route sees you. Fly high and you are a silhouette against an empty sky. Fly at night and you are a very large shape blotting out. Stars and eagles are not owls. Go the long way round and you have handed the enemy extra days for the news to travel ahead of you. Then there is what is waiting at the other end. By the late stages of the war, the ringwraiths are not on horses anymore. They are on winged beasts that Sauron reared himself. Could the eagles take them? Maybe. At the Black Gate, they go straight at them and do not flinch. But Frodo's flight cannot afford a fair fight. The eagle has to win every single time. A Nazgûl only has to get lucky once. Knock the passenger loose, wound the bird, or just slow it down while the rest of Mordor comes up to see what all the noise is about. And here is a detail people forget. In The Hobbit, the Lord of the Eagles will not go near where men live, because men shoot at them with their great bows of yew. That is their risk assessment of ordinary farmers with hunting bows. Now offer them Mordor. Push it further anyway. The eagle survives. The Nazgûl miss. Mount Doom is right there, below. You still can't just open your claws. The ring does not melt in any old fire. It has to go back into the exact fire that made it, which is inside the mountain, through a door at the end of a road Sauron built for his own use. Somebody has to land, somebody has to walk in, which means setting a hobbit down in the middle of Mordor, with every eye in the country now pointed at that one spot. And no Sam and no Gollum. Tolkien actually thought this scenario through. Years later, in a letter, he worked out what would happen if Frodo were cornered at that door by the Nazgûl while holding the ring. They would not attack him, they would bow. They would call him Lord. They would flatter the new ring-bearer, invite him to step outside and look upon his new kingdom. And the moment he did, they would bring the entrance down behind him. Frodo never reaches the fire. He ends up standing on a mountainside holding the ring, waiting for Sauron to come and collect it in person. And there is one more problem almost nobody raises, which is that this entire time we have been assuming the eagle is a taxi. The ring does not care what shape you are. It sits there on its chain, glinting, working away at whoever is nearest, and it works hardest on the proud and the powerful. That is the entire reason the job went to a hobbit. Not because hobbits are strong, but because there is less in them for the ring to get hold of. A great eagle is enormous and ancient, with a wingspan that shades a whole hillside, and fully aware of it. You want to strap the most corrupting object in the world to that, and fly it for a week straight towards the one place where its influence is strongest. Congratulations, you have not invented a delivery service. You have invented a new Dark Lord with wings. You will also see people insist none of this matters, because Tolkien admitted he simply forgot about the eagles. It comes up in every thread. Nobody has ever produced the letter. What we do have is him calling them a dangerous machine, which is a man who knew exactly what he had, not a man who forgot. Which brings us to the objection that started all of this. If Mordor is that dangerous, how do the eagles fly in at the end? Look at what has changed. The ring is gone. Sauron is destroyed, his tower is coming down, and his armies are scattering with nothing holding them together. The winged Nazgûl burned up chasing the ring into the mountain in its final seconds, and the eagles are not coming from far away. They are already at the Black Gate because they came to the battle. Gwaihir carries Gandalf in. Same eagle who lifted him off Orthanc. Before the ring goes in the fire, that flight means carrying Sauron's greatest prize into his own airspace and hoping. After it goes in, it is a rescue flight over a burnt and empty country. It is the same birds over the same mountains, and it is not remotely the same job. So, one does not simply fly the eagles into Mordor. Not because eagles cannot carry hobbits, they can and they do. Not because Tolkien hid a rule somewhere and everybody missed it. The plan fails at every single stage. Nobody can reach the eagles in their eyries beyond the misty mountains. Nobody can command them. They will not carry a passenger that far. Watchtowers and orc camps would have them the moment they cleared the peaks. And even if all of that went right, nobody was handing that ring over at the door of the mountain. Eagles are a way to cover ground fast, a straight line drawn across a map, and covering ground was the one part of this that was never the problem. Look at the map at the end. The route Frodo and Sam actually walk is absurd. Months of mud and hunger and hiding. Wandering half a continent to reach a mountain a bird could cross in days. But watch where the eye is pointing the whole time. At armies, at kings, at everyone except two small figures crawling underneath it. Frodo took the long way because the long way was the only road nobody was watching. Which leaves one more question, and honestly, it might be the better one. If Mount Doom was the only place in the world where Sauron could lose everything, why was the front door open? No guards, no gate, one road in. The answer is the same weakness that let two hobbits walk in, and it is why the most important place in his kingdom was the one he never thought to lock. That's the next one.